5 panelists, 5 topical issues, no holds barred.
For me, it's not knowledge that's lacking. It's that greed, it's that mentality where you feel you deserve to take your own and take it infinitely and let everybody else just manage however they would like.
We're almost becoming hardwired to try and cheat. I would, suggest that we begin to hold our leaders accountable.
There was a time in this country when things actually work.
I don't think that any organization should be above the law. And I think one of the challenges we have in this country is about governance across the board.
But what I'm saying is that it doesn't really affect us in Nigeria. That's
It does.
I don't know what we can do if the system is already corrupted.
We've been warned as a continent of the influx of the Chinese. If you don't repay your debt, they will just colonize you.
Welcome to The Advocate on Plus TV Africa. 5 panelists, 5 topical issues. No holds barred. We tell it like it is. So I'll be looking at the struggle of power in our educational system instead of focusing on the problem we have in our education system today. Nafisa will be giving us a blueprint of where our country is headed. Are we moving forward? What is our identity as Nigerians? I have a few words to say on that one. Liborous will similarly be highlighting some of the issues hindering our progress in Nigeria. You may be surprised that we are the ones doing it ourselves. Now, wow. Treasurer will be teaching us how to be Nigerians, an ethical revolution. She makes reference to our very own Professor Wole Soyinka, Tunji Oyelana, and the likes. And Gbolahan describes a peculiar relationship between diverse attitudes to challenges and opportunities by young ones. So you can see from our lineup, we are not averse to rocking the boat in the interest of genuine stability. So allow me to lead the way right after the break. It is said that at the root of every tantrum and power struggle are unmet needs, and I'll be speaking on much ado about Vice Chancellor. The recent disgraceful handling of the removal of the Vice Chancellor of University of Lagos is not the first fiasco. It may not even be the last furore to be raised in that institution. Let's go back to before 1965, when Chuka was Federal Minister for Education. It was alleged that in spite of the availability of more senior professors of Yoruba extraction, I might add, he handed the Vice Chancellor positions in the universities of Ibadan and Lagos to 2 men of Igbo extraction, namely Kenneth Dike and Enin Joku, respectively. Now that's open to argument. However, the replacement with Saburi Biobaku, when the new minister came in Lagos, signaled the start of university heads who hailed from the local area for what were actually federal institutions. So, on resumption of office by Biobaku, there was chaos. The students did not want him, and they went on a rampage. It took some months before Biobaku actually got to work, and it was not before he was attacked and stabbed at his introduction ceremony by one Kayode Abraham, who was jailed and eventually killed himself by drowning on his release. Interesting that the office of VC is now tribalized like all that we see in today's current federal government. So why all the ado about VCs as vice chancellors? What's the attraction? Is it the money that they control by virtue of their office? Because as you know, money dictates the status quo in more or less all sectors of our nation. For the 5 or so years I spent at University College London, I never knew who the Vice Chancellor was. Not ever. For me, it was such irrelevant information that when I was asked once on a holiday trip to Lagos back in the 1980s, I could not answer. We concentrate on all the wrong details here. Rather than discuss fundamental issues about the military, we spend our evening TV memorizing code names of supposed attacks on terrorists. Surely that's not our business, the code names, that is. If we spent more time discussing the failure of the education system rather than who gets to head a university, we might be in a better place today. Likewise, the bloody code names of Operation Cobra or something like that. Just get the damn terrorist out or dead. So let's put our energy and thinking to the right, proper, and economically sound issues and play down budgets, and which is where we pilfer funds from. Let's begin to think strategies and drop the showbiz and glamour. To save Nigeria is not a task for the whimsical.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
No, really.
Let's drop the glamour and the showbiz.
Don't mind them. They're bringing it back
That's
already.
what I'm saying. It's awesome. Drop the glamour, drop the show.
Unfortunately, we
Face the
can't.
substance.
Go straight. No, we can't. We can't really.
We
and
cannot.
That's why we need to dictate the pace. And I like Chuka's advocacy, instructive. Leave all of these code names. Leave who is the vice chancellor, who is INEC chairman. Get the job done. Nobody wants to know who the governor is. I've been traveling to America now, and I never really bothered to ask who's the governor of the state.
Yes. The state works, so it doesn't matter who is the
governor.
So long as it works.
I've never really asked myself who is the electoral umpire in this country.
Yes.
But here we are so particular about the man who occupies the office
And the
where
deputy.
he's from.
And the deputy.
Where he's from, because like you said, it is what determines how we piffer.
Yes.
It is what determines what comes
budget.
to us. So it's our turn.
It's quite unfortunate.
It's our turn to rule. Yes, that turn might give you sense of belonging, but it should be married with performance.
It's actually becoming a very dangerous trend. Yeah. I read in the papers that in the University of Ibadan recently, the indigenes, that's the Ibadan people, were requesting that the next VC should be from Ibadan.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I don't understand what that has got, even if it is not federal. As far as an educational institution is concerned, it should be who is the best for that environment at any point in time. So asking for an indigene, I think it runs contrary to all ethos that you can think about in that particular space.
It's happening even in churches these days.
Even in churches!
Yes.
Even in churches!
Catholic bishop, the bishop should come
Bishop
from.
is from, not from the right place.
I think it may stem from the fact that some people feel marginalized and they feel they've been marginalized for too long, and they want to prove that, look, we also have competent sons and daughters that can do this as well. So why don't you field somebody from us, because we have competent people as well. So if it's performance, we have performance as well. We have performance, so why don't you consider us? So then it goes back to the thing about Nigeria, that we focus on the people who can deliver, irrespective of where they're from.
Like you've said, it's a big problem. Yeah, because when trust is breached, it takes time to rebuild. And so you find out that most of these, sometimes some of these people also, there's a breach of trust somewhere. You believe that it is when your man is there that your people will get attention. Because when you're there and you're supposed to act and treat everybody evenly, and then you see favoritism, nepotism, corruption, for a section of the people, and then people will definitely say, look,
that's when
let it go round. Let the butter come to us.
That's when they tell the points at their own sons and daughters and tell you they can also do it.
If we're equitable in the way we treat, everybody, nobody would, will clamor for our turn. If the basic things are there, and we all can assess them by qualification.
By qualifications, not by favoritism.
Most of what you're referring to as a basic thing is not what is driving this thing. What is driving it is that when my person is there, then I'm closer to the cookie jar. That is the essence of what is going on. So it's not in the best interest of any environment, any society.
No, but what I'm saying is, if it is on merit and not until your person is there, you get from the cookie jar. And then you know that whoever is there, you will definitely get it on merit.
With fairness.
With fairness.
Okay, but how many people get there based on merit and fairness in Nigeria nowadays? Yeah. There are a lot of competent people who are bypassed in some of these appointments, and then they go and take somebody who is far less competent than you.
Then we need to check the process through which leaders emerge in all the spaces we're describing. What is the process? If the process is right, then there should be no point in getting worried.
That's I think what brought about Madam Due Process some years back. That's what brought about that particular ministry. And so how far have we gone with the due process? No, but you see the problem.
You can't legislate due process from the top. It has to be an orientational thing. I learned Nafisa is with us now. I don't know. Nafisa, do you have a contrary opinion or you concur with Chuka's advocacy?
I do concur, Mr. Chuka.
Oh, okay. Okay, so she agrees with you completely.
Well, it is clear that there is a power struggle over who will control the market, and Nafisa rises to the challenge after the break.
5 panelists, 5 topical issues, no holds barred.
For me, it's not knowledge that's lacking. It's that greed. It's that mentality where you feel you deserve to take your own and take it infinitely and let everybody else just manage however they will manage.
We're almost becoming hardwired to try and cheat. I would, suggest that we begin to hold our leaders accountable.
There was a time in this country when things actually work.
I don't think that any organization should be above the law. And I think one of the challenges we have in this country is about governance across the board.
But what I'm saying is that it doesn't really affect us in Nigeria. That's really
It does.
I don't know what we can do if the system is already corrupted.
We've been warned as a continent of the influx of the Chinese. If you don't repay your debt, they will just colonize you.
Someone once said that the loss of national identity is the greatest defeat a nation can know. And also I'll be speaking on that. National cohesion and the way forward. So about 2 days ago, I was speaking with a friend, and when he asked me the way forward for Nigeria, or what I could see in the future of our dear nation, it draws into a conversation on how divided young people are in Nigeria along tribalism and religious lines, and how we as a generation cannot bring about the new political order if we continue to be this divided. Envision this: a young couple romantically involved, working towards getting married, but failing to build a proper foundation based on love and respect, and then going ahead to get married. That union is most likely doomed to fail because the foundation. We as Nigerians do not have an identity. Who is a Nigerian? What defines our identity? What is our Nigerian dream? We so far have failed in answering these questions and understanding what brings us together as a people. What is the glue that sticks us together? We are more aware of our differences, more than the benefits we can glean from working together, aspiring to a higher ideal, not defined by religion, tribe, or political loyalties. A young lady asked me what I thought was the Nigerian dream when I went to speak at an event about a year ago. I thought for a while, and this was my answer. I asked her to define our common struggle, and she succinctly defined it in one word: inequality. I told her she had her answer. Our Nigerian dream is for all of us to be treated equally in a society that only works for the elites. I am defining the Nigerian dream as equality. Our country, as it is, can never move forward unless we confront the past and acknowledge the wrongs that have defined our history. For example, the Biafran War that took place from July 1967 to 1970. We as a generation must come together in our numbers and define a new Nigeria, chart a new path for us to follow, because the old way is not working anymore. It is an idealistic idea and a hard job, but it must be done. Thank you.
Wow. Chuka.
Orientation.
Yeah.
I don't know. Nafisa, you must know that that's a huge thing. How do you reorient people? 200 million people, for that matter.
Yeah, it's a really hard job to do. But to be honest, if we want to do something properly, then we have to do it right. That means revisiting the foundation of our history and our country. Yes. It's not going to be an easy job, but it must be done if we want to build a sustainable future for our country as it is. We can't keep on glossing it over and using super glue to paint the cracks. No, we can't do that anymore.
But we have an agency for that, right?
Yes, we do. But as you know,
it's still in existence. They had a budget.
But how did they appoint people into the agency? Bearing in mind what we discussed earlier.
It's not just about appointing people into the agency, but what is their relevance nowadays, and what do they do presently? Who's asking this question?
I deliberately brought it up because we once had that agency very functional in this country, very vibrant at some point. I can still remember vividly some of the songs that I could associate with that institution. But today,
don't let Yama spoil your life.
You know, so What
But did it
happened to
work,
an
or was it
institution
just-
I think it did, because
It worked.
people remembered what they were talking about. And it was prevalent.
I remember Andrew. Andrew,
Andrew,
don't
don't
check
check out.
again.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
You're right.
It worked, and then suddenly.
No, but now, seriously, like I said, you can't legislate orientation. You have to live by example. That's the best orientation.
You can't legislate orientation. You can't legislate a process.
Yes.
Let's see. By the end, this show is.
Then there will be
ended
nothing to
today.
legislate,
There will be
right?
nothing.
What I'm saying is, yes, really, most of the things that we legislate are things that you need to show by your attitude. And Nafisa is talking about, she's talking about equality. Equality is not a piece of legislation.
It's intangible.
It's intangible. That's the process that Chuka was talking about also. Equality.
Yeah.
And so why should I be bothered that it is Hausa man that is the president, when I should be bothered, do I have the basic? And so why should the Hausa man look at me and say, he's not Hausa or Fulani, he's from Uneme. And so for that, even if he's qualified, he shouldn't be considered. So these are not, even if you legislate them, if the right attitude is not there, the young man is going to sit down there and say, well, if I see the way you are treating others, why do you think I want to be treated that way?
I would just like to chip in with like a quick story. You know, it brings everything basically back down to home. So I schooled in University of Nigeria, Chuka. My father is Fulani, my mother is, from Delta State. Okay. And one day I went to go and meet my course tutor to submit my registration form to her. And she saw my name and she looked at me, and that was I think that was the height of the time of the Boko Haram crisis. And she told me that, oh, so it's your brothers that are killing my people. You know, how do you explain to that person that even your people are my people? Exactly. And, it's the current state of our country, and I'm sure things are a whole lot. Imagine if, young people that are from, intertribal marriages like myself, what they have to deal with. Our nation is very, very divided, and it's getting worse by the day, and we can't allow it to climax the way
and that's why
probably going to if we don't do anything.
Nafisa said two things that I want to pick on. She's talked about the Nigerian identity, and she's also talked about what's the Nigerian dream. She talked about tribal and religious lines. Those are the fault lines that we have in Nigeria. Yeah. And how can we overcome, looking at the fact that we're going to be 60 soon, what lessons have we learned? How do we overcome this divide, this tribal and religious? Early this morning, I had to, wade into some conversation on WhatsApp, on a WhatsApp platform. It was bothering on religion, and everybody suddenly became awake. It's my religion. You don't say that. You don't that. It's always.
And these are inherited and borrowed.
Absolutely.
I think the prosperity might also have to do with it, and I'll tell you why. An average American does not care that Jeff Bush was contesting to be president after his brother has just been president and their father was president. That is 3 people in the same family. And nobody seemed to care. What made them able to do that, to live like that?
Equality. That's what Nafisa has said. Equality. When you are treated equally, you really don't care where the man who is treating you comes from. And I also want to, we had all of these things before now. People intentionally divide us along these lines, and we allow them. And that's why I keep talking about orientation. I remember I was just talking, just before the program, I was talking about having to grow up in a partly Christian home and partly Muslim home. We went to school, we didn't ask, where are you from, or what religion do you practice?
It didn't matter.
We did IROK, we did BK. Nobody, it was nobody's business. At the end of the day, we all came together. Like last week I talked about, a child from Arochukwu having to travel to Wukari in Bauchi to school without the parents bothering whether that child will be okay. Yeah. And then you get to Wukari, you meet some people there who will take you as their own child, not minding where you're coming from. But today, the first thing, even in Nigeria, state of origin, local government of origin, religion.
Word.
When you go back to that society I mentioned, when people are asking you for your religion, your gender. They will ask below the line. And they will seek your consent first.
Even in the state, at the state level now, people ask you, oh, you are from Edo State. What part of Edo?
What part of Edo?
So
local government, then the city.
The tribe.
Oh, no.
Before they now know where to pigeonhole you. It's if we continue, and for me, I completely agree with Nafisa. We need to change all of this orientation. And not in our generation anyway. But we should pass it on to the next generation as a message. And that's why, for me, every government that is coming on board should ensure that there is a message you want to pass, a message of equality and cohesion. But when your attitude is that of inequality,
correct.
No matter how much you pass that message.
But I'm still asking, what really is the Nigerian dream?
The Nigerian dream should be that every Nigerian should be equal before the other.
Yes.
Is it really equality?
It will be. No, because it sums up everything. It sums up everything. What it is that I'm not saying that if you ask the average Nigerian, what's the dream? They will tell you equality. Everything they say, if 20 people are asked and you take those 20 answers, you will find out that equality will deal with it. It will make sure that you will get what you want and what you deserve, what you want, and what is good for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's really what we're all looking for.
Nafisa is right in that what affects one eventually affects all. Since no man is an island. No man is an island. Well, after the break, I speak on the reality of Nigerians harming Nigeria.
5 panelists, 5 topical issues, no holds barred.
For me, it's not knowledge that's lacking. It's that greed. It's that mentality where you feel you deserve to take your own and take it infinitely and let everybody else just manage however they will manage.
We're almost becoming hardwired to try and cheat. I would, suggest that we begin to hold our leaders accountable.
There was a time in this country when things actually work.
I don't think that any organization should be above the law. And I think one of the challenges we have in this country is about governance across the board.
But what I'm saying is that it doesn't really affect us in Nigeria. That's
It does.
I don't know what we can do if the system is already corrupted.
We've been warned as a continent of the influx of the Chinese. If you don't repay your debt, they will just colonize you.
A local adage states, it's the rat in-house that tells the one outside how to circumvent the traps in the house. Our country can only be good if we want it so, because it is Nigerians that are destroying Nigeria. We are the Nigerians of yesteryears that will rise to demand transparency and accountability from government anytime there's a price hike. Today, government increases fuel price and we all sit down and smile. Interest rate at tariff are increased. Cost of living is getting so high. Government refused to cut cost of governance. More than 10 presidential jets lying waste in Abuja. Ministers and executive officials still living ostentatious lifestyle and going for medicals abroad. National Assembly members still collecting humongous allowances and buying cars that are not produced in Nigeria. Judges are selling judgment. Nigerians, yet all of us, are debating APC and PDP. Everyone I have mentioned above and more, either for good, bad, or ugly, are all Nigerians and not foreigners. Why some are making the country proud at home and abroad, like the recent appointment in Canada, the Nigerian that was appointed Attorney General of the state in Canada. Some are doing everything possible to make sure Nigeria is perpetually known in the negative, including government officials encouraged by the silence of the ordinary man. Same way our leaders at home don't have value and regard for our citizens, is the same way majority of our embassy staffs abroad treat Nigerians in need of the embassy service. A country's foreign mission abroad should ordinarily be home to our citizens, but ours is not the case. Let's start with the Nigerian embassy in Germany. Most phone calls to their official numbers are hardly answered. Passport appointments are not less than 6 months. And mind you, this is deliberately made so to give room for some touts or their agent of the workers stationed outside of the embassy to fleece applicants of €100 each to gain entrance into the embassy or get an early appointment date. Even if they attend to at least 30 people in a week, that's about €3,000 illegally entering someone's pocket. It's not as if the issue is different from the passport issue in immigration here in Nigeria, but we are talking about our image abroad. Anyway, you can call it the exploitation of Nigerian the Nigerian way or the Nigerian way of doing things, you'll be right. But we must change it. After pressure from the Nigerian community in Germany, a consulate was opened in Frankfurt in an attempt to ease the pains of citizens. But the attitude was only transferred from the formal office to this other one, as the attitude of those in Frankfurt became even worse. They were not able to issue passports for a long time. Even the visas they were initially issued had been taken over by foreign companies who charges an extra 115 euros for their service, with an official fee of 108 euro, an additional fast-track fee from those touts of 100 euros, collected by the embassy staff for earlier appointment. As someone rightly queried, so what was the purpose of the Frankfurt consulate? No visa, no passport, and still on salaries. Nigeria, we hate you. The embassy in Netherlands and Belgium are not different in the behavior and style. They are all the same. Even the one in London has an extra £50 charge tagged office maintenance cost, which is not stated anywhere in the visa application requirement online on their website, but is compulsorily collected by every applicant before being attended to. Only recently, some Nigerian visa and passport renewal applicants cried out about their ordeal in the hands of Nigerian embassy in Canada. I don't think much has changed either. The foreign mission in America is also not different from the above scenario. As a narration of the experience from families who have had children in America of their ordeal in trying to get visa or passport for their Nigerian children before returning home has been most harrowing. It is, however, interesting to note that most of the requirement and process of obtaining American international passport for these children were done from the comfort of their parents' laptop and with a distinct process and experience from these same countries. I would therefore advocate, like Senator Ina Baribe once said, you cannot have democracy without democrats. In the same vein, you can't have leaders if there are no followers. You cannot have officials stealing without accomplice, and you cannot give bribe if there are no takers. When we collectively compromise the system, whether at home or abroad, we and our children are the ones that will bear the consequences, either now or years after. When we intentionally close our eyes to corruption, corrupt practices, nepotism, mismanagement, barefaced fraud and favoritism, because our tribesmen, religious person, party, or candidate is involved, we and our children are the ones that will suffer the consequences, either now or thereafter. And if only we understand the far-reaching and the multiplying effect of some of these our actions and inactions on our generation now or later, we make haste to do the right thing. If only we know the money stolen from our country daily by us, our leaders and foreigners alike, and that will be enough to develop our land like Europe and America and Dubai. And we won't even need to travel to all these countries to get the best of life. We will hurry to question our leaders' every action and inaction. Mind you, our collective actions and inaction is what is destroying Nigeria. And the problem can only go away if we, the followers, want it to. And that's why I said Nigerians destroyed Nigeria. And only Nigerians can fix Nigeria. So, I as a Nigerian has chosen to be different. So what have you chosen to be?
Our leaders have continued to do what they do because they're encouraged by the silence of the ordinary man. It is so true. I once read a book, I've been reading it in bits. It's about followership by a Harvard professor, a woman. And contrary to wild-held views and beliefs, the blame doesn't always lie with the leaders. The followers also take blame because there can't be leaders without followers. This idea of it's going to be our turn too, let it just be. The reason why a lot of things are the way they are is because we're also priming ourselves for when it will be our turn to now eat this elaborate, this mythical national cake. And so things continue to be the way they have been. Imagine these atrocities at our embassies abroad. Even to be a Nigerian abroad is laborious. It's difficult.
Yes.
It's a lot of work to be a Nigerian.
It is a lot of work to be one.
It's amazing to think that we will behave differently abroad when we go to the passport office in Ikoyi and you see the way people, what people go through to get a passport. in Ikoyi. So we're not saying when we get to Germany, at the embassy in Germany, that will be different. It's not different. My immediate sister and her family lives in Germany. They had to come to Nigeria to get a passport renewal because it was literally impossible. At a point in time, they said, please, can you even try for us? Maybe because there's this online thing that is there. I tried, Taya. It wasn't going. So what's the point?
Similar example, my daughter, I think, was trying to renew a Nigerian passport. And the embassy in London asked her at some stage if she knew people in Abuja to make it, to be able to send them some booklets. So that, and I thought, somebody outside is going to help an organization from the outside and come back inside.
That is Nigeria.
No booklet is used.
In the same way, I was once given the big booklet for the because they didn't have the small ones.
Okay.
And they made me pay for the big one.
Of course.
That's not right.
And Nafisa, you want to zero in?
You know, a couple of things come to mind when thinking about this conversation. First of all, that democracy, it doesn't just end when we vote at the polls. It comprises of a continuous system of accountability from our leaders. Second thing is that our leaders have entered into the system and created, you know, a system or a structure that is hell-bent on corruption. That if you alone, as a good person, head into that particular system, you will not be able to do much or any much at all. Because the system has now become dependent on corruption. You cannot do anything good without some measure of compromise. And, you know, that is literally how it is when it comes to citizenry. You know, now, for example, look at the fuel hike. A lot of people are just, you know, bearing it, taking it as it comes. Protests, how do I put this now? Accountability without all of us will not work. And that's just the truth. It can't just in small clusters, you know, maybe like 10 people in Jos, you know, even like 100 in Lagos, 100 in Abuja, 100 in Kaduna. It's not, we need all of us together, coming together as one massive body to, you know, speaking with one voice to say that we are not going to permit this as a culture. You know, corruption has now become a culture for us as a people. That is why, you know, the same thing that is happening in the Nigerian passport office, I've gone through it myself, will be happening in the German, you know, the German passport office as well, and the one in Netherlands, because it has become a culture. Until we come together generally as the mass people and put our foot down and say, no, we will not have this corruption or culture within us, and then we will also not allow our leaders to take us for a ride as they take us for a ride. Because they can do something today, they will rant about it on Twitter. 2 days later, you will see BB Nigeria trending. I'm not telling you not to watch BB Nigeria, I'm just telling you, focus on what is important. The same way people can gather together for Lekon, you know, in their millions and thousands. Gather together and say, no, we will not agree to this fuel hike that you people want to foster on us. Just after we're coming out of a pandemic, you know, they are saying that, oh, that Canada is in recession. You should be happy that you are not in recession. What is there to jubilate about? Your economy is not even getting stronger. You just give us crumbs, and we need to come together as a whole. You know, it's just... the
economy is not getting stronger, and we are here. I can feel your passion, and that's very good. And so, like I said, I choose to be different. Nafisa has chosen to be different. Each and every one of us here have chosen to be different. So we appreciate you sharing yours with us. James Adam is pleased by Chuka's advocacy, as he says. Thank you, boss, for taking life simple. You take life simple, maybe because you stay and school in one of the developed countries in the world. The average white people takes life easy. That's hardly know who is rich and poor. But in Nigeria, Whereas Ike Enere Madu, sound like a Kwere Madu anyway, is provoked by my last advocacy, INEC Bayelsa and Election Tribunal, and says that judgment for a fresh election is meant to give APC another chance to rig itself in. The question is, will APC participate in a fresh election, having been previously disqualified? Also, Doc T has a message for Ikene on Aisha's advocacy. Die na die. And he's saying, Ikene, I love you, but I don't agree with you on this one. Looking for specific agendas to protect for is another cowardly excuse. The problem has always been unity. no one dies for who we spit on their grave. Oh yes, no one died for who we spit on their grave. Thank you, James Adam, Ike Eneremadu, and Doc T for your feedback. We may not agree, but it broadens the conversation, like we always say. Continue to advocate with us on our social media platform, on Facebook, Plus TV Africa, #TheAdvocateNG, and on Twitter and Instagram at Plus TV Africa, #TheAdvocateNG. And to catch up with previous broadcasts, just simply go to plustvafrica.com/theadvocates. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Plus TV Africa. Treasure takes it up from here.
After the break, I'm agreeing with Liborous in saying, if you desire to make a difference in the world, you must be different from the world. After the break.
5 panelists, 5 topical issues, no holds barred.
For me, it's not knowledge that's lacking. It's that greed. It's that mentality where you feel you deserve to take your own and take it infinitely and let everybody else just manage however they will manage.
We're almost becoming hardwired to try and cheat. I would, suggest that we begin to hold our leaders accountable.
There was a time in this country when things actually work.
I don't think that any organization should be above the law. And I think one of the challenges we have in this country is about governance across the board.
But what I'm saying is that it doesn't really affect us in Nigeria. That's really
It does.
I don't know what we can do if the system is already corrupted.
We've been warned as a continent of the influx of the Chinese. If you don't repay your debt, they will just colonize you.
My advocacy further teases the first 2 advocacies we've heard. I'll be talking about how to be a Nigerian, an ethical revolution. And this is in continuation of my Nigeria at 60 series. I will be looking critically at 2 satirical works on Nigeria that I consider classics and timeless. One, a musical album, a 2-tracker by Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka. Well, few people remember this part of Professor Soyinka. He wrote and released a 2-track album, Unlimited Liability Company, in 1983 through Ewuro Productions, his production company. I could sing that album from start to finish, fascinated by the voices of Tunji Oyelana, Jimmy Sholanke, and that baritone voice of the Nobel laureate himself. And I loved both tracks. I'll sing with gusto. I love my country, I no go lie. Now inside I go chop till I die. I'll sing along when the leader asks, Etika Revokini, and then I'll join the chorus to answer Etika Revolution. The other, titled Chairman, I'll fondly sing along as well. Chairman, this meeting go hot, oh. Your directors don't chop all we money. I don't know if you've listened to the album. It is brilliant. The other is a book, How to Be a Nigerian, written in 1966 by Peter Enahoro, also known as Peter Pan, arguably Nigeria's best humorist and satirist. Both the album and the book are at best prophetic. Several years into Nigeria's nationhood, they still capture the troubles with Nigeria, to borrow the title of another critical political commentary on Nigeria, this time by the late Chinua Achebe. As I reflect on the musical commentary, I find an uncanny semblance in content with Peter Enahoro's profiling of an average Nigerian and his ways, pretty much about the identity of a regular Nigerian. In my opinion, both satirical works are a witness against us as a people. We haven't changed much. We are cast in our ways, and we have grappled with the same issues, with the same approaches and methods for too long. Certainly, we cannot continue this way. In that song, I even heard Kaduna being talked about. I heard about directors, about corruption, pretty much the same things we're talking about today. Professor Soyinka then was in his 40s. He's now 85 years old. His grim sarcasm in the production still rings true of us as a people who are desirous of change, but who are largely in the grip of a curious way of life. A life that has prevented us from sustained national growth for years. Nowadays, you hear the word revolution being bandied in conversations across the nation, and indeed amongst all tribes. Everyone is seeking autonomy and independence. The ultimate goal of every revolution is to achieve the human desire to be happy. To be happy, the revolution must start from within us as individuals. We all need this ethical revolution. And then at the macro level, the government will make us happy if it can do 4 things for Nigerians. 1, protect your citizens adequately from both foreign and domestic threats. Secondly, defend the rights of the citizens and not abridge them unnecessarily. Increase in fuel comes to my mind. Fuel price. 3, refrain from exploiting your citizens. And lastly, balance the power of the government versus the power of the people. And so as we reflect together, I invite you to journey to the future with me by visiting these works of our heroes past for how can we move forward without evaluating the mistakes of the past.
Wow.
Everything you have said now still boils down to treat Nigerians equally.
There's a connection.
There's a connection in all of our advocacy.
Which is why I said I'm further teasing.
And it's as if, it's as if we all sat down
and had a meeting before this.
But just like you talked about, Wole Soyinka, Fela sang this same thing.
Yes.
You know, water, light, food house.
It's pretty much the same.
You know, the same problem and the same promises. In 1979.
But let me just remind you that Fela did say in that song that they said they will give us all this water and light in 1990. That's 30 years ago.
The United Nations.
And we still haven't done it.
And yet,
it was for the future in 1990.
It was for the future, yeah.
But by 1990 something, Abacha told us Vision 2020.
Here we are.
As if it will never come. And
there was Vision 2010,
2010, and then there was Vision 2020.
Which was the
to make us
nicest one
among the 28th most developed nation
in the world
by year 2020. And here we are in year 2020. We are more backwards. We are the 4th most poor, almost the poverty capital of the world. And you know, and then Nigerians sit down to debate APC, PDP, and we argue Big Brother, who's been evicted,
and then life goes on.
And then life goes on. It's sad, really.
The problem has not changed fundamentally. I saw a 1965 front page of a newspaper, 1965. The caption said, 10,000 pounds missing at Nigerian Airways. Corruption issues, 1965. This is 2020. The story has not radically changed.
At all.
So, I don't know, what do we need to do as a nation to change this story? Because apparently we have been doing the same thing, the same way, and we are expecting a different result. And that is why we stopped 40 years after.
Nafisa should have the answer as a youngest among us.
I might not have the direct answer, but you know, I really wanted to say the same thing. Fela said it, Wole Soyinka said it, and we've basically been repeating the same rhythm, dancing to the same tune for over 30 years, and we're still dancing. When are we going to fix the foundational issues? When are we really going to have this ethical revolution that we need to have? This is talk about who indeed is a Nigerian, what makes us Nigerian. Are we truly a nation as it is? Are we really unified in the sense of it? That really is the ethical revolution. It's a conversation that this country has never, ever sat down to have. And we need to have it. If not, in the next 30 years, we'll still be singing Fela and be gyrating according to the same tune. That's if most of us are not left and gone.
I agree with you.
It's the truth.
I agree with you.
So true. So true. We need to have the conversation. Yeah. We need to move beyond that conference we had that did move us forward.
Yes, that's true.
Yes, we do.
Talking about our country, Nigeria, after the break, Gbolahan raises a topical case in point.
5 panelists, 5 topical issues, no holds barred.
For me, it's not knowledge that's lacking. It's that greed. It's that mentality where you feel you deserve to take your own and take it infinitely and let everybody else just manage however they will manage.
We're almost becoming hardwired to try and cheat. I would, suggest that we begin to hold our leaders accountable.
There was a time in this country when things actually work.
I don't think that any organization should be above the law. And I think one of the challenges we have in this country is about governance across the board.
What I'm saying is that it doesn't really affect us in Nigeria. That's really
It does.
I don't know what we can do if the system is already corrupted.
We've been warned as a continent of the influx of the Chinese. If you don't repay your debt, they will just colonize you.
Challenges as opportunities. I want to tell a real-life story involving the two young gatekeepers in the apartment complex where I live, Ibrahim and Yusuf. They are both in their 20s. Ibrahim is the longest-serving gatekeeper in the house. He's dedicated to his gatekeeping, and if asked, he gladly takes on any petty tasks from many of the residences. He earns 30,000 naira a month. Yusuf, on the other hand, is everything Ibrahim except that on a daily basis, he washes all the cars on the premises. It's a 6-apartment block with the entire ground floor as parking space. When full, there are nothing less than 20 cars. Yusuf knows the usual schedule of each of the cars, and he plans his washing accordingly. At a conservative 500 naira per car per week, Yusuf nets nothing less than an additional 10,000 naira per week. Effectively, while the other guy, Ibrahim, earns just about 30,000 naira salary monthly, Yusuf earns 70,000 minimum, made up of 30,000 salary and an additional 40,000 from washing cars, a captive market with no competition. The first time Yusuf went home and someone relieved him, I thought Ibrahim would automatically step in his shoes and take up the 40,000 naira that is on the table. But it did not happen. Ibrahim never washes a resident's car parked unless specifically asked. On the flip side, Yusuf washes all cars, asked or not. They are both about the same age. Here's another one. Sometimes in 2018, a friend had told me he was desirous of investing a maximum of 500,000 each in a portfolio of micro businesses by young people. To be eligible, interested individuals were to share the business idea in a one-pager summary and sent to him for review. I shared this information on a couple of platforms with a lot of young people. I was stunned that on a particular platform with about 50 young people, there was not even one response. Meanwhile, most of them were unemployed graduates who still depend on uncles and aunties for airtime and data. I must say, however, that the initiative was eventually oversubscribed by some other young people. So here is the question. What created the difference between some young people who have a nose for opportunities and shoot for them, and a significant number of others in the same age group who sit there waiting for fortune to drop on their laps? Could it be a gap in the education system which emphasized churning out job applicants without paying attention to also producing entrepreneurs? Obviously, that was not the case with Ibrahim and Yusuf, as both are uneducated. Could it be the fear of failure or rejection, or a general hostile business environment? Maybe it's a mix of several factors. Whatever the problem may be, I would like to advocate that all agencies of government and civil society organizations with mandates for youth should engage more actively in connecting young people to the opportunities represented by our challenging and chaotic environment. Challenges are opportunities to provide solutions for a reward.
Yeah, the difference is that there are some youth that are naturally lazy, that you can't take it away. There are some who are just contented, they are comfortable where they are. They don't want to shift, forward, backward, sideways. They're just okay with what they have. And so, while there are some who believe, yes, I will get extra from uncles and aunties, so why bother? And then they they're looking for huge cash. Nobody's ready to work for the little ones. They don't know, there is no orientation that you need to start small also. So they see somebody driving a big car, they just want to drive that kind of big car. And then thanks to, the government in us, he calls you, uncle, please, so I need 10,000 naira. You say, I don't have much, don't worry, I'll send you 5. By the time he goes around 5 uncles, that's 25K. So why would he want to wash? Why would he want to wash car for you when he can get 25,000 naira by reaching out to uncles? And then we have this attitude of, give, the Lord will give back, or you're not helping, that my uncle is too wicked, or that my auntie is too wicked. So these are some of the issues, these are some of the challenges. And then naturally our orientation and our ideas of always reaping where we didn't sow. Government will do it, individuals will do it. And there is no mentorship for hard work, that hard work pays, that you need to work to eke a living. Take those days, you finish your secondary school long holidays, you are meant to work somewhere. There are jobs waiting for you, but it still happens abroad. You work in
internship and also
what do you call it, eateries and but here none of them is existence. And then somebody who left the village a few days ago, like you see in home videos, he goes to Lagos, and then the next thing
is prospering.
He's coming back with a car and he say, open the boot, bring out the rice and the rest. So that's the mentality. And so why would the man want to work? So we need to go back to orientation. And like I told you recently, my friend in Delta State, the DG Orientation Agency, Eugene Uzom, doing fantastically well. But I wonder what the national is doing, or why are the states not replicating the same thing. That's my challenge.
I want to talk about the sense of entitlement of a lot of our young people. They just feel that you owe them something. Nobody owes you anything. You do what you need to do to shine and to bring something to the table. Nobody owes you anything. And this idea, I think this sense of entitlement has crept into our national psyche. It's become a culture. You go to an eatery and somebody opens the door for you and he's expecting, hey, Shonma, somebody stops you. Yeah, somebody stops you on the road.
Afternoons, happy Friday.
Yeah.
Happy Sunday.
They know they profile you. They know this one has all the papers. So forget it. Don't even ask anything. Happy new month. So you're wondering, what is this? So really, we're back to orientation, we're back to process, we're back to
beggars.
But isn't it all because there was an unequal advantage given to some people that has led to some people perpetually played down
the waters?
So what else do they do? The best thing is this man has gone ahead. I'll just beg him for some. And there's no shame in it. Why would I be ashamed if I'm already? How low can you go? Lower than low. So I don't blame them to some extent when they behave like that.
Nafisa agrees with you.
But I stop them anyway.
Yes, I have a couple of things to pitch in. I'm going to start first of all with exposure and hunger. Hunger, not in the sense that you're hungry, but exposure and hunger, those two are kind of like linked. Like, for example, let's say Ibrahim and Yusuf basically live in the same compound, and they see the same cars every day. I'm sure Ibrahim that goes out to wash the cars, without anybody asking him, he says, I see this kind of car. I want to have this kind of car in the future. Because I am at my current state does not mean I should not aspire to have this kind of car. And so he is exposed, and he is then hungry, or he has the ambition to at least climb out of his social status, and that's why he goes ahead, goes the extra mile to wash the cars. Two different people are exposed to literally the same scenario but different outcomes. Correct. So I think that's one thing. Exposure then leads to hunger. And then on the side of Yusuf, I'm going to come from the side of the perspective of apathy, in the sense that the Nigerian system is broken. It doesn't reward hard work. It rewards connections and influence and who do you know and how much money do you have in your pocket. So people say, you know what, I'm not even going to bother trying at all. You're already in a system that doesn't believe in you, believe in the capability and potential you have. Because if it did believe in you, it would create a system that will harness the gifts and talents you have. So they're like, you know what, there's no matter what I do, how many doors have find knocked upon? How many, people have I talked to give me a chance? And then you have an educational system that has not even profited, that hasn't even taught you so much. So you're just basically at a disadvantage. That's where the apathy comes from. The environment in itself is not designed to even make you hungry to succeed in that sense, because it doesn't help you develop your potential and then activate it to benefit society. So just those three things: exposure, hunger, and apathy. I think this is literally what.
Thank you, Nafisa. I guess that says it. The end always seems to come too soon on the advocate. However, the advocacy continues on our social media platforms on Facebook, Plus TV Africa, #TheAdvocate10G, or on Twitter and Instagram at Plus TV Africa, #TheAdvocate10G. To catch up with previous broadcasts, go to plustvafrica.com/TheAdvocate10G. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Plus TV Africa. Till next week, same time on this station, let's keep advocating for a better society. Bye.
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 5 panelists, 5 topical issues, no holds barred.
For me, it's not knowledge that's lacking. It's that greed. It's that mentality where you feel you deserve to take your own and take it infinitely and let everybody else just manage however they will manage.
We're almost becoming hardwired to try and cheat. I would, suggest that we begin to hold our leaders accountable.
There was a time in this country when things actually work.
I don't think that any organization should be above the law. And I think one of the challenges we have in this country is about governance across the board.
Well, what I'm saying is that it doesn't really affect us in Nigeria. That's really
It does.
I don't know what we can do if the system is already corrupted.
We've been warned as a continent of the influx of the Chinese. If you don't repay your debt, they will just colonize you.